Hey everyone, and welcome. Yep, it's that time of year, but don't even think about stressing out. We're going to make income tax for the financial year 2025-26 super simple and crystal clear. Let's just dive right in and break down everything you need to know, one easy step at a time.
And just so you know, everything we're talking about today is based on the absolute latest and most accurate figures for assessment year 2026-27. So yeah, you can totally trust these numbers.
All right, so here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with advanced tax. That's paying early. Then we'll get into TDS and TCS, those automatic deductions. After that, we'll figure out which ITR form is your perfect match. And finally, we'll wrap up with the online filing. It's going to be a simple journey, I promise.
Okay, let's get into our first topic, advanced tax. And honestly, the name kind of gives it away, right? It's all about paying your taxes in smaller chunks throughout the year, instead of getting hit with one massive bill at the end. It just makes life easier for everyone, you and the tax department included. So you're probably wondering, okay, but is this something I need to worry about? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Let's figure it out. There's a really simple rule for this. And here it is, 10,000 rupees. If your total tax bill for the whole year is looking like it's going to be more than 10 grand, then paying advanced tax isn't optional. It's mandatory. Yep, it's really that straightforward. Now, here's how it works. These percentages are cumulative, which is just a fancy way of saying they add up. So by June 15th, you need to have paid at least 15% of your total estimated tax. Then by September 15th, your total payments should add up to 45%. See how that works? Then it's 75% by December, and you hit the full 100% by March 15th, 2026. Right, the government really doesn't like surprises in March, and that's exactly why they do this. They want a steady stream of money coming in. If you miss these dates or don't pay enough, you're going to get hit with interest under Sections 234B and 234C. So, the takeaway here? Seriously, put these dates in your calendar right now.
All right, moving on to TDS, which stands for Tax Deducted at Source. This is another pay-as-you-go kind of thing, but with a twist. This time, the tax gets taken out of your income before the money even hits your bank account. It's all automatic.
So, where are you going to see this TDS in real life? Let's look at some of the most common examples. First, your salary. Under Section 192, your employer handles this, deducting tax based on whatever income slab you fall into. Easy enough. Now, how about bank interest? Under Section 194A, once you earn over 50,000 rupees in interest, the bank will deduct 10%. Oh, and for senior citizens, that limit is higher. It's 1 lakh, which is nice. Then there's rent. If you're paying more than 6 lakhs a year for a building, that's Section 194I, and a 10% TDS applies. And last but not least, for all you professionals out there, if your fees go over 50,000, Section 194J kicks in with a 10% deduction. Yeah, this quote pretty much nails it. It really is like the government saying, look, we'll just take our little slice first so you don't have to worry about it later. It's that pay-as-you-earn idea again, making everything automatic so your employer or your bank is doing the work. Okay, listen up, because this is important. I've got a crucial warning and then some really good news. First, the warning. Always give them your PAN. If you don't, that TDS rate skyrockets to 20%. Ouch. But now for the good news. You know those annoying sections 206AB and 206CCA that slapped higher rates on non-filers? Well, as of April 1st, 2025, they're gone. Things just got a little simpler. Okay, we've talked a lot about earning money, so let's switch gears and talk about spending it. This brings us to TCS, or tax collected at source. So this time, it's the person selling you something who collects the tax from you on certain big-ticket purchases.
So, where does this TCS pop up? A lot of it has to do with sending money overseas under what's called the Liberalized Remittance Scheme, or LRS. For example, if you're booking an overseas tour package or sending more than 10 lakh rupees abroad as a gift or for an investment, a 20% tax gets collected. But if that money is for self-funded education or medical stuff abroad over that same 10 lakh limit, the rate is way lower, just 5%. And here's a really big update you need to know. That old TCS rule on the sale of goods over 50 lakhs, it's been totally removed, gone.
So yeah, if you're planning that amazing foreign trip, just remember, the tax department wants to tag along for a tiny part of the ride. But here's the most important thing to remember. This isn't an extra tax. It's more like a deposit. You can claim it all back as a credit when you file your return. Okay, deep breath. You've handled your advanced tax, you've got your TDS and TCS sorted. Now it's time for the main event,
filing your return. And the very first step, and I mean you absolutely have to get this right, is picking the correct ITR form.
Now, for most of you with an income under 50 lakhs, it's probably going to be one of these two. You've got ITR 1, also called Sahaj, which is the go-to for salaried folks with income from one house property. Then there's ITR 4, or Sugam, which is for business owners or professionals using that simple presumptive tax scheme.
But what if your situation is a little more complicated? Well, then you're looking at these two. The big question to ask yourself is, do I have business income? If the answer is no, but you've got things like capital gains or you own more than one house, then ITR 2 is for you. It's built to handle that extra complexity. If you do have business or professional income and you can't use that simple presumptive scheme, then ITR 3 is the one you need. Okay, two more super important points here. Number one, the new tax regime is now the default. If you want to use the old regime, you have to actively go in and choose it. And number two, please be careful. Filing the wrong ITR form is a surefire way to get your return rejected by the system. All right, we are so close to the finish line. Let's talk about the final step, actually e-filing your return. And the good news is, the government's online portal has made this whole thing a lot less painful than it used to be. It really boils down to this 5-step checklist. First, you log in and pick the assessment year, which is 2026-27. Second, you choose the correct ITR form that we just figured out. Third, and this is a big one, you check all the pre-filled data. The portal pulls info from your AIS and Form 26AS, but you have to make sure it's right. Fourth, you calculate and pay any tax that's still due. And fifth, you get to the final must-do step. And I cannot say this loudly enough. An unverified ITR is an invalid ITR. If you file everything but forget to verify it, in the eyes of the tax department, you haven't filed anything at all. It just doesn't count.
Honestly, think of it this way. Verification is like hitting the submit button on a huge assignment. You can do all the research, write the whole paper, but if you don't click that final button, none of your hard work counts. You have to verify your return within 30 days, or it's like you did nothing. So, let's do a super quick recap of the essentials. 1. Pay advance tax if you owe more than 10,000 rupees. 2. Know the latest TDS and TCS rates that apply to you. 3. Choose the correct ITR form for your income type. And 4. The big one. Always verify your return within 30 days. Got it?
And that's a wrap. You are now officially tax ready for the financial year 2025-26. So the only question left is, what are you going to do to plan a little smarter this year? Here's to making it your smoothest tax season ever. Thanks for tuning in.